So I don't mean to be negative. I know you have a close personal relationship with Aaron Rodgers, so does State Farm. But I'm watching, and my takeaway on that yesterday is, okay, I mean, when it's announced Patrick won't play on, like, Friday, we're all like, okay, that's going to be a blowout. And I'm like, Matt Moore was totally comfortable and he was coaching high school football. If you're Green Bay, this morning you wake up, you're like, that shouldn't have been what we saw, right?
I don't know. Look, Andy Reid is one of the great coaches in the history of the league, and one of the things he does best is make a quarterback look better than he is, right?
Yes,
Go back to Philadelphia.
You're right.
And Kevin Cobb, how much money did he make because he played for Andy Reid?
He resurrected Mike Vick's career.
Mike Vick, Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb was an average to above average quarterback who wasn't terribly accurate.
Got him to a Super Bowl.
And all those consecutive NFC championship games. And the strength of the Packer defense is their pass rush, and they have the greatest screen game in the NFL. So this is what they do. You have an exceptionally bright quarterback in Matt Moore, who's played forever. Yes, he was a high school quarterback coach to start the year.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I kind of think you're burying the lead. Like, dude, all Aaron Rodgers needs, he doesn't need the best defense. He doesn't need the 85 Bears. He doesn't need last year's Bears. He just needs a competent defense. They have that. And then his talent is so obscene. Like, he wasn't throwing that ball to the corner of the end zone. He was maybe to Jimmy Graham, maybe out of bounds. I mean, but as much as you're effusive, and we should be with our praise of Deshaun Watson, gets kicked in the eye and throws a touchdown pass and beats the Raiders, that same Raiders team played on the road last week in Green Bay, had to go for Aaron Rodgers. 5 touchdown passes, and he ran one in as well.
But if you're sitting on the bench and you're not watching the game because your defense can't get them off the field.
No. Look, I got it. I understand.
Yeah.
But considering where their defense had been, where it is now, and look, defense is more about, it's not necessarily about gross yardage anymore.
Yeah.
It's about third down conversion percentage. It's about red zone defense. It's about takeaways. And this defense is right there in the top 10 in most of in those fields.
Okay, you disagree with me. We talked before the show. I think Cleveland, and I think it was fairly predictable. I said they're going to be really choppy early, and then they're going to go to Denver. And my takeaway is Denver's a go-either-way game. I think Cleveland will win it. I think Denver's kind of imploding. I think that loss for dominating the game the way they did in space against the Colts and losing, Joe Flacco rips the team after. I feel like
conservative.
It's over. So I think Cleveland's going to go on a streak here, winning a bunch of games. You don't necessarily agree.
Well, just what leads you to believe that other than the competition appears to stink, right? They come out of a bye week and look awful. They have 13 penalties. The Cleveland Browns are a fad diet. And even if they drop 25 pounds here, okay, the fundamentals of it won't work long term. Right? That's really what a fad diet does.
The South Beach diet, is that the one we have milkshakes?
That does have some fundamentals to it where you're cutting out the carbs or whatever, right?
Right.
But like everyone knows what you're supposed to eat, what you're supposed to do, everything in moderation. Right? Now you're cutting out the complex carbs. You drink more water. You don't drink soda. Like this stuff, you have to exercise daily, bring yourself to an aerobic threshold, but you do a fad diet and you drop 20 immediately, but it's coming back on. That's what they are. They're a poorly constructed team. You got all these personalities and names. You don't have a good offensive line. You have an inexperienced quarterback who doesn't appear to be as talented or maybe as accurate and isn't getting the coaching that he needs. You have an inexperienced head coach who can't command the respect. You have 13 penalties coming off a bye week in a game in which you're playing against the best team and the best run organization in the National Football League. You're dying to be beaten. And there's some plays just foolish. I mean, I don't know if you saw the report on CBS, but it was 4th and 11, and they wanted to go for it. So he had his player jump off sides. Just like all of this stuff, it's like a high school team, and you have a guy who's frankly not competent as a head coach. Maybe he could be a head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, who are trying to be bad this year. But the Browns are trying to be good. And they are not accomplishing it. So I don't care what they do, but I do think that they're not going to be as good down the stretch here against a softer schedule as their talent deems they should, because they're fundamentally flawed.
I will say this. Their defensive line, Brady was uncomfortable yesterday multiple times. I find New England fascinating. Kicker gone, receiver out, another gone, Gronk retires, left tackle, center, fullback, and New England keeps winning. But let's shift to this. So we both like Sean McVay. We think he's smart. But I watch San Francisco, and they're not dependent on anybody. Now, all teams are dependent on the quarterback. But Todd Gurley, everybody's excuses are ridiculous, right? Like Chargers. Our offensive line isn't. San Francisco, George Kittle, 5th round. Matt Breida undrafted. Garoppolo sat in the bench for 3 years. I'm watching San Francisco yesterday, Doug. Shanahan looks like the best young coach by a long shot in the league.
Well, it actually shouldn't surprise us, right? He was the one who made RG3 look good.
Yeah.
They got them to the playoffs. And then Atlanta, though their play calling was suboptimal when they're up 28-3. They were up 28-3 on the Patriots because of his play calling. And then it was the perfect timing, right? He came into San Francisco when they had a lot of talent, didn't yet have a quarterback.
And good draft picks, too.
Right. And then, honestly, the Garoppolo injury last year helped them. They get Nick Bosa, who might be the best defensive player in the league. They have a ridiculous defensive line with all first-round draft picks.
Yep.
So this is he a great play caller? Yes. Has he prepared his entire life to be a head coach? Absolutely. Does he have a tremendous staff and a quality GM? Yes. But let's also remember that they basically tanked. They were bad, loaded up on draft picks, nailed most of them, and then got the benefit of Garoppolo on a fire sale. Played Garoppolo, gave him a big contract, then he got hurt, so they got Bosa as well. And the only reason they got Bosa was because Arizona decided to take Kyler Murray instead of taking the best player in the draft. So there is some luck, and luck is when, timing and opportunity coincide?
Yes.
There is some luck to it. But yes, he's a marvelous coach, and that really shouldn't surprise us.
30 minutes from now, Colin right, Colin wrong. I want to do two, because the NBA season started. Doug was a tremendously gifted college basketball player, 7th in assists in the history of the sport when he retired or left or whatever guys do in college. So
Graduated.
There you go. You got a degree. Congratulations.
I did.
Way to go. What did you major in, by the way?
Marketing.
Oh, that's good. You marked yourself.
School of Business.
Oh, look at this. All this stuff. What did you major in, Joy?
Broadcasting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She actually prepared for this job. I got mine because I could barely put a ball through a hoop.
Okay, so let me start with this. Kyrie wanted to be the man, and Kyrie is the man. And I have questions about a small guard that gets hurt a lot being the man. Have you watched what's happened in Brooklyn, Doug? He's the man, and he leads the league in shots. And they're 1-2, and he's had the shot at the end of both losses, and he's missed. Did he make a huge mistake?
In
leaving Boston, leaving LeBron, then Brad Stevens, what are you seeing with the man?
Look, I mean, this is not what it's going to be when Kevin Durant comes back, and I do wonder what he ultimately does to their culture, right? The reason he went there, the reason that people around the NBA loved the Nets last year was their culture,
right, that
they played for each other. But they also had their own kind of selfish point guard in D'Angelo Russell, but sometimes they would substitute Spencer Dinwiddie in.
Yeah.
He's been an N1 mixtape. He's made some incredible shots. Let's not kid ourselves. He's done some things, but will he ultimately win you a championship? I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's the focus of his career. I'd love to say that he was simply about winning championships, but I kind of think in his mind, I've already won one. And so I got that. And so now I want to show that I'm the best player. He thinks he's the best player in the NBA, and he's marvelously talented. My question is, how do those cultures intercede? Because what they had last year was a team that played for each other, and what they have right now is a team that simply gives the ball to Kyrie
and watches.
And that can be really, really frustrating, especially when the ball doesn't go in. But he has the sweat equity, having won a championship, hit the big shot in Game 7, and he did score 50 in his first game. It's not like he's scoring poorly,
but he's getting what he wanted.
No, this is what you wanted. You're kind of in New York, and you get to be the man, but you're with the Nets. And I do think the Nets thing is really, really hard. I mean, they're the 6th or 7th most popular professional sports franchise in the tri-state area.
Yeah.
And once you get below 500 and we get into January, people stop paying attention, even if you are Kyrie Irving.
Doug Gottlieb is joining us. By the way, New York sports now are a mess. The Giants, the Jets, the Mets, Brooklyn, Knicks, it's a mess. One more NBA story I want to touch on. Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson, they announced he won't play. I ran into Steph Curry's agent regularly recently. They have the worst bench in the league. Steve Kerr was king of the mountain, politically, big, progressive opinions, and dominated the world. And Steve Kerr was the toast of the league. He may have one of the bottom 3 teams in the league right now, overnight.
I don't know if he has bottom 3 team.
I mean,
they had 37 points at the half against Oklahoma City, and people are dancing on their grave because, look, they still walk in as Golden State. They walk in with a 2-time MVP. They walk in having made the last, 5 NBA finals, right? So they carry that. So they're everybody's biggest game.
This is a free fall.
No, well, I mean, I don't know what people expected. You lost Kevin Durant, the best player in the league, is gone, who helped you at both ends of the floor. You lost Klay Thompson, who's a top top 10 player in the league who helped you at both ends of the floor. So their defense is a joke. You add in D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell is not a winning player. People only watch box scores. The Nets were better at the end of games. A lot of times, if he wasn't making shots, right? Spencer Dinwiddie is probably a better, more consistent player at both ends of the floor. And then, this is why Draymond is not a superstar. He's a superstar role player. Because if you tell Draymond, hey, dude, we need you to score 20, it's I can't do that.
No, he averaged 7 last year in the regular season.
That's not who he is. You also, their bench, you mentioned, you lost Andre Iguodala and you lost Sean Livingston. And if people think this is strength in numbers before they got Kevin Durant, you forget that team not only had Iguodala off the bench, they had Leandro Barbosa and they had all these other veterans.
This is just a fall. It's amazing to watch.
Yes, but this is what you have to do. It's a gap year for them. Okay, Klay Thompson comes back next year. They'll probably trade D'Angelo Russell away. They'll get something back in return for D'Angelo Russell. They'll replenish that bench. They'll see which of those young players are for real and get rid of the rest. I think it's a gap year. I don't think they make the playoffs. And I think that the big question is, how much does Steph Curry try and carry this team? Does he try and go for 40 a night, and does he wear himself out for his future?
By the way, Doug's got a podcast on my network. It's fantastic. All Ball with Doug Gottlieb. He does college. He does pro. A lot of NBA stuff. It's fantastic. He does the show after me, the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio, which, by the way, is up like 800%. You're crushing it. Good seeing you, bud, on a Monday. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.